What if the man everyone feared as a monster was actually the one who could give you extreme powers? Commander Gonzalez thought he knew strength. He thought he knew House Voltaire. But as he lay face down in the dirt, staring at the boots of the man they called a dark mage, he realized his nightmare had just only begun. The knights returned to their duties, their hearts hammering against their ribs in pure terror. But Jack didn't care. He reached down, grabbing the unconscious Gonzalez by the hair and hoisted his up like a trophy. Jack whispered, "Let's chat a little." Gonzalez wasn't just anyone. He was the Marquis's favorite, the third strongest warrior of House Voltaire, and yet here he was, broken. Jack leaned in, his voice cutting through the cold air. "Do you want to become an 8th circle user?" The offer was insane. It was impossible. Even in his semi-conscious state, Gonzalez felt a jolt of pure shock. But before the terms could be said, the scene shifted. Nearby, Ron stood facing Valentine. The air between them was thick with secrets. Valentine didn't waste time with pleasantries. Valentine stated, "You were connected to Devon, weren't you?" Ron's face went pale. It was ghostly white. Valentine continued, her eyes piercing through Ron's defenses. "You reached the 9th circle 20 years ago, didn't you? So much power, you could control spirits at an age where most are still learning to breathe mana." Ron's voice was soft, and he said, 19 years. It's been 19 years since I last touched my mana. I gave it all up the moment I stepped into Marcus's mansion. I only used once, just once, to find Jack." Valentine fell silent. She looked at Ron, a warrior who had discarded the strength of a god just to serve a boy. Jack hadn't heard him. His mind was elsewhere. His grip tightened on Gonzalez's hair, and he said, "I'll ask just one last time." Gonzalez trembled, his lips parting to speak, but Jack didn't wait. He lunged forward, grabbing the knight's chest. In an instant, Jack's mana flooded Gonzalez's body like a freezing tide. Near Gonzalez's heart, 7 mana circles were spinning. Jack's energy collided with them. Jack commanded him, "Do not move." Then he began to do the unthinkable. He began fiddling with the circles, rearranging the very fabric of Gonzalez's soul. A small explosion echoed through the room. Gonzalez closed his eyes, praying for a quick death. But when the smoke cleared, he felt a surge of terrifying power. He had 8 circles. He had reached the pinnacle. Jack said coldly, shattering the knight's joy, "It will last only 3 to 5 months. Now you have to obey me. If you don't, you will face a death so painful that your mind will break you before your heart stops." The rumors were true. Jack wasn't just a mage, he was the master of dark arts. Jack ordered him, "Get on your knees." Gonzalez had no choice. He obeyed. The orders were so simple, yet suicidal. First was to return to Venel Manor and ask as if Jack had vanished. Second was kill 40 vassals of House Mears within 3 months, including the Marquis's most loyal knights. Jack smiled sarcastically. "Do not worry, follow orders and you might even get more power." He looked at the trembling man and remembered how Ron had beaten him earlier. This man was a sinner and now he was a servant. Jack commanded Ron, "Give me a daily report on him," before literally throwing the commander out of the room. Jack was hungry, but as he turned to leave, the door burst open. It wasn't Gonzalez, it was Charlotte. She threw herself at him, sobbing. Her grip was so tight that Jack could barely breathe. She wailed that, "I thought you were dead." Jack looked at Ron and asked him, "I'll be out for a bit. Make a good meal, Ron, like you always do." Jack said softly, looking at the girl, "I'm sorry, Charlotte. I destroyed your home." Charlotte wiped her eyes. Her voice was hollow. "It doesn't matter now. Mother is gone. There is no home left to stay in." Jack looked at her, this weak, starving vampire girl. He reached out and took her hand. "My mother died too. I don't even remember her face, but I found happiness. You will too." With a flick of his mana, Jack slid his own wrist. He didn't hesitate. He pressed the wound to Charlotte's lips. She was starving. Her teeth sank deep into his flesh, drinking greedily. Instantly, the change was visible. Her skin regained his glow. Her muscles tightened. A vampire with the right blood is as strong as a dragon. Charlotte pulled away. She was stunned. She bowed low and said, "Thank you." Jack smirked, looking at his new protector. "So tell me, how do you like your master's strength now?" Charlotte whispered, My lord, Boinger had him in a mix of fear and newfound devotion. Jack frowned. He didn't want a subject, he wanted an asset. He corrected her that call me boss. Charlotte nodded. Names didn't matter to her as long as she was by his side. Later that night, over a feast that would make kings jealous, Jack dropped a bombshell on Ron. Ron, I defeated a dragon. He said that so casually as if he were talking about the weather. Ron literally froze. He knew what a dragon was. By age 10, they have 4 mana circles, and by 50, they are masters of the world. They possess the power of incarnation, the ability to compress their massive, giant bodies into human form, reaching a peak of physical strength that no mortal could touch. Jack picked at his vegetables. His mind was racing. He knew Vex, the dragon, had been careless. If the dragon had been smarter, the fight would have been a bloodbath. But Jack had scared death into its own grave. Jack watched Ron closely. Most people would call Jack a liar, but Ron believed him without a single doubt. Jack suddenly asked, Are you a spy for the Thulan Empire? Ron denied it instantly. Jack smiled. Now, finally, he was relieved. He didn't want Ron to be just a burden. He knew the man was hiding a past that stretched back before Jack's own time-traveling memories. But there was no time for history lessons. Jack needed power because his current body was too weak to handle Salora, its peak energy. If he pushed too hard now, his own mana would tear him apart from inside. The air grew cold as Valentine approached. Her voice was sharp as blade, and she asked, Did you use dark magic, didn't you? Jack didn't lie because he couldn't. The dark halter was a forbidden spell, a piece of dark magic Valentine herself had created during the horrors of war. It was a cruel insurance policy. You force a promise into someone's mana circle, and if they break that promise, they just don't die, they explode into ash. Valentine asked, What was the promise, Jack? What did you promise me? Jack replied smoothly, It was insurance. Insurance for Ron and my sister Elizabeth. Ron's eyes softened. To think his master would use such a terrifying spell just to protect him, it touched a part of his soul he thought was dead. But Jack waved the emotion away. He had no room for drama now. Charlotte burst into the room, escaping the fussing maids. When Ron offered her food, she simply said, I'm full. Ron was puzzled because he hadn't seen her eat a thing, but Jack's knowing smile said everything. She had tasted the blood of a master. Jack announced suddenly, She's coming to the academy too. Ron hesitated. It isn't right to threaten people into helping you, Jack. Jack ignored the advice. He looked at Charlotte. Because she was only 11 and the academy required students to be 14. But Jack didn't care about the rules. Charlotte had the talent for 10 mana circles. She could even learn to use Soul Aura. He would make Gonzales forge the admission papers anyway. A few days later, the carriage pulled to a massive stone-cold gates of the academy. Ron had packed everything. His loyalty was as steady as a rock. Jack instructed Ron, handle the family problems while I'm gone and keep an eye on Gonzales, especially because he's stupid, and once he's outlived his use, I'll just simply destroy him. He also thought of Elizabeth. She's too innocent, Ron. I don't want her to become a monster like me, but she needs to be nudged in the right direction. Ron watched him. He was having a strange look in his eyes. He said, You've really changed, Jack. As the heavy doors creaked open, the group stepped into the vast courtyard. Charlotte shrunk back, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the place. It was a fortress of knowledge and power. Suddenly, a maid appeared, her voice echoing in the hall. The headmaster is waiting for you. Charlotte immediately ducked behind Jack, and she clutched his coat. Jack felt the weight of her fear, but he didn't stop. He straightened his shoulders and walked towards the office. Because the games at the home were over now. The real war was about to begin.